Sony was the full-frame camera king not long ago, but is now fighting off improved models from Canon, Nikon, and even Panasonic. Its latest response is the 61 megapixel A7R V, a full-frame camera designed for detailed portrait and landscape photography. It uses the same sensor as the A7R IV, but has updates nearly everywhere else. The faster processors allow for improved autofocus and AI tracking. It also comes with updated stabilization, a slick new screen design, and more. All for the same $3,900 price as Canon's EOS R5. Has Sony regained its technological lead over rivals, and is the A7R V worth buying over the previous model? I took it for some detailed testing, but spoiler alert, this is one impressive camera. There are a number of improvements in handling over the A7R IV. It now has a dedicated selector for video, photos, and slow and quick mode. The record button has been moved from the back to a better position on top. As with other Sony cameras, it's intuitive and easy to use. You may find it uncomfortable at the end of a long day though. That's because the grip has some hard edges and a material that's less cushy compared to Canon's R5. Rather than a tilt-only screen like before, Sony has come up with a fully articulating display that also tilts, not just upwards like Panasonic's GH6, but also out and down as well. That's good not just for vlogging, but it also lets you move the screen clear of any mic or monitor cables. The electronic viewfinder has the same 9.44 million dot OLED display as the A7S III and A1, up from 5.76 million dots. Like those models though, resolution drops when you focus or increase the refresh rate. As with Sony's other recent high-end models, it has a pair of dual-format card slots. Those take either UHS-2 SD or faster but far more expensive CF Express Type A cards. The latter is required for 8K video and allows for longer photo bursts. For external recorders, the A7R V has a full-sized HDMI port that's a big improvement over the micro HDMI jack on the A7R IV. It uses the A1's battery and gets the same number of shots on a charge, 530. That's under lab conditions though, and I got about double that in the real world. Like its predecessors, the A7 V can shoot 10 frames per second compressed raw bursts in mechanical shutter mode, which is still pretty darn fast for a 61 megapixel camera. That matches the speed of Sony's stacked sensor A1, which costs about $2,600 more. However, the A1 does blow it away in electronic shutter mode with 30 frames per second compressed raw speeds. The A7R V can only manage 10 frames per second in silent mode as well, and unlike the A1, action shots could be ruined by the pronounced rolling shutter. Sony's genius is with autofocus, and the A7R V is possibly its best camera yet in this area. Regular, non-AI, continuous autofocus is uncannily accurate in all 5 modes, delivering a large majority of sharp frames, even with fast-moving subjects. You can select multiple types of subject recognition modes, including people, birds, animals, insects, cars, trains, and airplanes. It would be nice to have an auto mode that lets the AI choose the subject, like Canon's EOS R6 II, however. In most of these modes, the camera was very good at focusing on the subject's eyes. Failing that, it accurately tracked the head or body and still delivered sharp photos. The results were particularly impressive considering the high resolution that shows focus flaws in minute detail. Sometimes it did fail to lock onto birds' eyes. By and large though, it nailed focus nearly every time, beating rivals by a solid margin in that area. It also has a touch-to-track mode that locks onto subjects more accurately than rival models. The A7R V also has a new in-body stabilization system, boosting it from 6 to 8 stops with supported lenses, the same as what Canon's EOS R5 offers. It's very good for photography, though it falls a bit short for video, as you'll see soon. As it has the same sensor, the A7R V delivers near identical image quality to the A7R IV. With that and the lack of an anti-aliasing filter, only Hasselblad and Fuji's 100 megapixel medium format cameras offer greater detail. JPEGs are ready to share right out of the camera with nicely tuned levels of sharpening and noise reduction. Colors are more accurate but perhaps less flattering to skin tones than Canon's latest models. The system is particularly well tuned to sunny, blue sky scenes, so the A7R V is a great option for landscape shooting. Sony claims 15 stops of dynamic range, above Canon but perhaps slightly below Nikon. That gives you tons of overhead to edit raw files, fix under or overexposed shots, or tweak colors. Except for highly detailed scenes, I didn't notice much difference between compressed and uncompressed raw files. The A7R V does surprisingly well in low light. At speeds up to ISO 6400, grain isn't an issue. Noise increases considerably at ISO 12800, but images retain detail. Beyond that, they can get gnarly with large grain color noise. Still, for such a high-resolution camera, it exceeded my expectations in this area. The A7R V is now a pretty darn competent video camera if you understand its limitations. It now offers 8K at up to 24-25 frames per second, 4K 60p, and 10-bit 4:2 video with S-Log3, Cinetone, and HDR formats. The A7R IV had none of those features. There are a few asterisks though. The 8K video has a 1.24 times crop, while 4K 60p has the same crop but also adds pixel binning. 4K 30p video is uncropped, but also uses pixel binning. The only way to get super sampled video is with a 1.5 times APS-C crop. That, however, is limited to 30 frames per second. 120 frame per second video is only available at 1080p. That said, Sony has done a good job with the pixel binning, so it doesn't look significantly less sharp than the APS-C video super sampled from 6.2K. Now that it supports 10-bit capture, the S-Log3 video is far more useful than on the A7R IV. You'll see less banding once you grade it, and the 15 stops of dynamic range give you extra room to push blacks, pull back highlights, and tweak colors. As with photos, hues are natural and accurate, and the A7R V is decent but not awesome for video in low light. The A7R V now has the best video autofocus system too. It's nearly foolproof, locking onto subjects quickly and accurately, even in chaotic circumstances. All the AI features mentioned for photos work for video, so it can track animals and other subjects nearly as well as humans. The updated stabilization isn't nearly as good for video as for photos. It's fine for handheld video if you don't move around much, but rapid movements or walking will cause jolts. Panasonic's new S5 II is much better for vlogging. You might be thinking at this point that the A7R V is actually a solid video option, but it's held back by one thing: excessive rolling shutter. It's particularly bad at 8K, with any camera movement setting off a jello-like effect. Still, the A7R V is fine for most video shooting. If your jam is mainly video, however, Canon's new EOS R6 II or the Panasonic S5 II are both better and a lot cheaper. I'm feeling like a broken record, but Sony's $3,900 A7R V is once again the best full-frame camera I've tested. Image quality and detail are outstanding, autofocus is second to none, and the updated video capabilities are great for many hybrid shooters. As mentioned, Sony's main rival is the 45 megapixel Canon EOS R5, which offers lower resolution and better video capabilities, but suffers from overheating issues. And Nikon's $3,000 45 megapixel Z7 II is $500 less, but has inferior autofocus and video. None of those models come close to matching the A7R V's resolution or exceptional autofocus though. Given that, plus the massive video improvements, it's now the best high-resolution full-frame camera on the market by far. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and for more on technology, check out Engadget.com.